one of those stories I came across because I think it affects a lot of people. And it's going to kind of play into a story that's a bit down the road. But I wanted to talk about it because as we're getting closer to the school year starting, a lot of students have already enrolled in their classes, especially if you're talking about 4-year schools or 2-year schools, things of that nature, because they know pretty much what they're doing in August. Well, people in Chicago can expect a tuition hike for city colleges. And this is coming under quite a bit of scrutiny. It was announced on Thursday that there's going to be roughly, students can expect to pay $200 or more per semester beginning this upcoming school year, which means August. And this is something that was just recently rolled out, and pretty much an email was sent to students that are already enrolled. So they made an announcement, and then they did like an email blast saying tuition increases, here's what's going on, and pretty much explain how they're going to be affected.
Well, first of all, some of these schools should be free, period. I'm serious. They should be just free. Some of these city colleges. I live here. I know. I'm being serious. And so $200 more per semester for people who barely got into school, period. And now you're going to hike their tuition. That's not good.
Here's the thing. So this announcement came from, obviously, Mayor Rahm was there, and then he had City College's Chancellor Cheryl Hyman was there. Obviously,
why is Rahm? He's charging for everything. He's charging for the taste. Now he's putting it in these city schools. I'm like, can anything just, can he not hike up everything?
Here's my thing. And let me just say this. Actually, I've worked in a couple of city schools recently. And there are some. There are some that really, what they've invested in programming in regards to more, I guess you can say, college to careers type initiatives and being job ready. So if you choose not to go on after, if you want to do your 2 years, get your associates, and then go and work, you can.
Okay.
Understand that Chicago is set over the next, I think it's 5 to 6 years, to have more than 80,000 jobs in healthcare. So for instance, Malcolm X College has, which by the way, they've almost just retooled that entire campus. It's amazing what they've invested in this to get anything in regards to the medical field. They've really upped it. So understand, what I've noticed with a lot of city colleges, because they're pushing this college to careers, they're looking to specialize different schools. So they actually have sunk some money into a lot of these different schools. They're trying to raise the bar. I'll be honest, it's hard to raise the bar without actually charging something. And let me just say this from someone who paid a good amount of money. I mean, I've actually taken some classes at a junior college over the summer, because I could transfer the money over and not have to pay a full cost for a class that would cost me like $2,500. It cost me like $395.
Right.
So I've done that myself to save money. See, it's about career planning. So I do understand with the initiatives that they've tried to put together with this, they probably had to raise the cost. And Nikki, I'll be honest, $200 more per semester, not credit hour, just per semester, isn't going to break your back.
It will break some people's back.
Here's the thing.
It will.
Because here's how this is set up. Most people use nil-net, which means they don't even ask you to pay for it all up front. You spread it out into a payment plan, so they can make those adjustments to help you filter that cost down a bit. Understand, education across the board in this country is very expensive, and though I'm sure they probably didn't want to do this, a $200 hike per semester isn't going to break the bank. It may make you a little bit more uncomfortable.
Bank, but there are some people that's like, I didn't spring on this. Like some people, I have just enough to do this and live and maintain and get by and go to school, and then you throw this at me after I'm already enrolled and I figure this out. For some, this might be an issue.
For some people, it might be an issue. I mean, granted, I think the window that they provided the information isn't acceptable. You don't roll this out in July.
This is what I mean.
And I'm looking for classes in August.
Right. This is what I
think this is something that maybe should have taken effect come the next semester, the spring semester, not fall, because you didn't give people enough time to really be able to plan for it. But for some people who do student loans, this isn't gonna have that much effect on them because they're not coming out of pocket. This is something that's going to impact more out of pocket tuition payers than people that are doing the student loans. But I just say I've seen some of the changes they've made for some of the city schools, and depending upon what field of study you're going to go into, there's definitely, you're preparing in the right way. It's a smart way to get your education.
I think it is.
I just think what they should have done out of courtesy is made this go active in spring, not fall.
That's what
I do believe that was quite unfair.
You can't spring.
But the cost, education, unfortunately, is just expensive.
But it's some, and I'm not saying this, but some, it's unnecessary. There's no reason that you should spend $60,000-$70,000 a year to go to school. That's insane. And then when you go there for 4 years, as soon as you get out, you're probably not going to get a job that makes $30,000-$45,000. You're already $200,000 in debt.
Oh,
this is
absolutely,
ridiculous.
absolutely. And how this affects, like, 15% of the students in Chicago City colleges are what's considered to be like part-time students, taking less than 12 hours. Mm-hmm. So they will see tuition increases range from $250 to roughly anywhere from like $350 to almost $600 per semester, because they take less than the full credit hours. For people who take anywhere from, let's just say, 6 to 11, pretty much to 12, then they see that increase at $225. So actually, the more credit hours you actually take, it's not as much, but they're still making up the difference because you're taking more classes.
Right. And if I have to go to work, I can't take those credit hours because now I have to pay for your increase. This is just a catch-22. I don't like this.
Well, here's the thing. I understand tuition increases come along, especially since I've seen with my own naked eye the changes they've made at schools. So I can understand why it happened. I just don't like the way they rolled it out.
Sure.
I think they could have been mindful for people that are working that don't do student loans, because part of the reason they choose to go to a city college is because they can attempt to pay it out of pocket. Because I tell people in most cases, I don't say this, Chicago actually has a pretty well networked city colleges are very well networked. I mean, and they've done better to kind of make it more robust over time. I just think they did a really poor job in how they rolled it out. And then they send it via email. So everyone's not stalking their email.
And like, you gonna break up with me over it. You gonna text me and break up with me? That's what you gonna do?
Email and tell me charging more money?
Really?
You know.
Wow, okay.
You know, but I'll say this. They've been flirting with this proposition for a little bit of time. So I'm not shocked that it happened. I just think the timing of it is poor.
It's poor.
The timing of it is poor.
And so am I. So I'm not paying you $200.
I'm sorry about that. Anyways.
I mean, speaking for the people, I meant.
So, anybody who's attending any of these Chicago City colleges, you may want to go and check your email just in case you weren't aware of this. Your tuition has just increased official starting in August for the school year.
Yeah.
So, a little unfortunate and a little surprising, but it is what it is. Our neighbors in Indiana, and when I read this story about Gary, there are times I still wonder, when I say this, I don't mean to say it in a bad way. I'm surprised that Gary is even still on the map.
You've been to Gary?
That's my point. I'm surprised that Gary is actually still on the map.
Yeah.
So it's now being reported that Gary City government, because they have so many vacant buildings in the city and people are spread out, they're kind of looking to kind of funnel or relocate people in more concentrated areas so that they can shut down and not deliver city services to parts where people really aren't.
They're saying there's 6,005 out of 6,500 of the 7,000 properties are abandoned. Do you understand that? There's 7,000 buildings, 6,500 are empty. That's your whole town.
That's your whole town.
That's your whole entire town. And now they're going to sell them, they're going to do the dollar thing because they don't have enough money to even knock them down and start over.
Right, that's what they're saying, which is interesting because if I buy it for $1, it's going to cost me a heck of a lot more to rebuild it. But then again, this is where a developer might step in and see some real value to this.
But again, they might be offering it to $1 for the people who live there.
They're not going to make that kind of investment because they see how everything has been on a downward spiral since.
I mean, but at least they're giving the offer like they did in Inglewood. They're going to let you have it first, and you can have it for $1. And then if a developer does come in, at least I have this property for $1. I can make a profit off of it. So can we buy it for $1?
I'm not buying nothing here. Okay, I feel sorry for them because this has been something that's been a downward spiral for them for quite some time.
Yes.
And because the city is trying to find a way to maximize their budget, they're like saying, look, think about this. They're thinking about relocating people to centralized areas so that they don't have to give services to more than half the city. That's interesting because I'm like, are we talking about renters? Because
apparently so.
I'm like, if I own property, why would I just relocate? And now understand that Gary it's actually featured as in the Poverty in America city in the cities that NBC did, talking about how they have had issues since going all the way back to the 60s once U.S. Steel left, because Gary used to be
a steel industry.
Used to be a huge steel center, and that at that point, steadily they had lost 55% of their population.
It's kind of like the rise and fall of Detroit, because when Detroit was the motor city and everything in the same kind of thing, when that collapsed, then Detroit kind of collapsed, and they are also looking at a lot of abandoned buildings in the same.
And here's the thing. So their mayor, Karen Freeman Wilson, she said, she really wants to try to get Gary back to being. At one point, it was called City of the Century, and now it's in near ruins, and she's trying to find a way to revitalize it. Well, before people are going to come back, there has to be something to come back to. So to me, you've got to tackle this in a different way.
You got to have a sale of the century before you can do the city of the century. Right?
It's not even a sale of the century. You have to get manufacturers or businesses willing to come do business in Gary.
You have to sell that and rebuild it. Yes, that is.
Okay, but first you have to have somebody who actually has an interest Now, a lot of people in Illinois will live in Indiana because the cost of living, the taxes and everything are different. So maybe they should try to figure out some way that they can make it more attractive. But that means partnership with developers and businesses. They have to infuse something into their economy because people are leaving because there is no economy left.
Right. You gotta have a sale. You gotta have one big Gary Yard sale and start all over. It is.
I just feel bad for them because, you know, it's gone from bad to worse, and now it's dismal. And my thing is, for the mayor, I don't understand how she can even begin to fix this problem because there's so many vacant buildings. People are leaving left and right. So how can you even make this attractive for businesses to want to go to? But the fact that it's gotten to the point where they have to look at two things. One, to relocate people so they can minimize city services to kind of balance the budget, as well as at the same time we're saying all these vacant lots, we're going to auction them for $1. And somebody probably, there'll be a taker somewhere. Somebody who's got some vision might do it. But it's just so sad that they've gotten to the point where they have to move people around like they're in concentration camps.
Well, you have to start somewhere if you want to start over, you want your city to rebuild and thrive, or you just abandon it and move on. But you have to do something, you got to start somewhere. So sad or not, something has to be done. Garage sale in Gary, let's go.
Stop saying garage sale in Gary. Garage sale is bad. I don't know, I feel bad for Gary because it's, you know, long gone are the days that, you know, people probably don't even go there to see where the Jackson 5 came from.
No, nobody can.
Because seriously, and I've been to Gary, and it's a scary place.
Yes.
It's a scary place. I bet the Jacksons ain't going back to do nothing there. Talk about they need to do a reunion concert. I mean, I know the key person's no longer there to do it, but they need some help. And I don't understand where it's going to come from. Is the thing.
Yeah.
You could sell. So you sell every lot for $1. You can. That only generates $6,000. Stop. No, Jesse. No.
Don't
you say that. Don't you say it.
Jesse said take some of my purses and shoes.
Even if they, by the way, Jesse is sitting in the studio kind of
our super producer Jesse.
Super producer. He's like Resurrect Michael Jackson. Even so, they have been generating enough money. Jesse, I hate to say that. Sad stuff in Gary. I feel bad because I've been there, and it is a sad place to know that city at one point was thriving.
Yeah.
But Gary is like so many places in America where U.S. still left. And people don't realize the thumbprint that business had, especially from middle to east coast America, was huge.
Right.
And the exit of steel to go abroad because it was cheaper to do business, Americans still haven't figured out. Companies keep leaving us to come back and sell us the stuff they're making other places because they don't want to play American.
Right.
And that's a problem.
That is a problem.
And we go through these little small bursts of buy American, but we're not committed enough. We have such short attention spans about stuff. A prime example, I have this fun thing I do that every time I go to a major city, and this is kind of dumb, I'll be like 80 with like 50 cups.
Oh, yeah.
I go to Starbucks and I buy a cup from every city.
Yeah.
So I have cups like from New Orleans, I got one in Puerto Rico. I kind of cheated. My godmother came back from Egypt. Like, give me a cup. So I have all these cups. It's my little fun thing I do. I turned it over, and what's the cup say?
Made in China.
Made in China.
I'm gonna tell you this.
So my Puerto Rican cup was made in China.
Yeah. You have nothing on my snow globe collection, though. Oh, you have. I bet you. You have nothing on my snow globe.
I probably don't because I just started doing this last year.
Oh, did you?
I just started, so I only have like about 10 of them. So I'm getting to the point where as I go places, or if I've been someplace and somebody else is going, I've been there.
Yeah.
Grab me a cup from Starbucks.
Yes.
I'll reimburse you when you come back. So,
but it's made in China.
It's made in China. We need to have a conversation about this, Americans, because we spend a lot of money, and yet we send our money out of this country, and we need jobs here.
Right.
But that's a whole other conversation within itself.
Okay.
All right, it is the Maya Akai Show featuring me and Nikki Brayton on the What's Trending portion of the show. Stay tuned. The conversation will continue. Haha.
Cut the mics. Cut the mics. Just remember, cut the mics off.
Where there is love, I'll be there.
Where? I see it.
I'm going back to Indiana. Back to where I started from.
Get the economy back. Michael's coming back. Y'all got Michael coming back.